You wanna move?
Let's try.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Emergency Teachings, Season 48, Episode 2. Today, we are addressing the question that is on everyone's mind. Who or what should Israel bomb next? Especially after the fragile ceasefire gives way to Israel's itch. And by itch, I do not mean the Armenian dish, but Israel's uncontrollable desire to defend itself by bombing the shit out of everyone and everything. Because human shields. With me today is Sinan Antoon, our cultural landscape specialist, and Adel Iskandar, our media landscape specialist. I'm also joined by myself, Bassam Haddad, their social science specialist. It is disheartening that Israel has stopped at 6 after bombing Palestine, Lebanon, Iraq, Yemen, Syria, and Iran, an aura of disappointment pervades Israel. So much so that thought leaders the world over have been chiming in to advise Israel on the next bombing sites. Israel welcomed the suggestions with open arms and added their own, citing thought leaders as, and I quote, a bunch of pussies. Here's the final expanded list. We will start with our media landscape expert, Adel Iskandar. Adel, who or what or whom should Israel bomb next?
الميوت انا قلت ميوت عشان الايكو.
بابا احنا ورانا شغل ورانا عوائل.
طب قول الحته الاخرانيه. Thank you so much, Bassam, for this opportunity. I want to say that the list goes on and on and on. But first and foremost, Pakistan, the country whose name most resembles Palestine. Who needs mistaken identity? Secondly, Liechtenstein. To help us find Liechtenstein on the map, mushroom clouds are more efficient at geolocation than Google Maps. Third, Iraq, because guess what? That is the preset Uber destination for most US-made arms anyway. But honestly, the list, as I said, goes on and on and on. 146 countries in the world currently recognize Palestine. How absolutely outrageous. Norway, Ireland, Spain, Bahamas, bomb, bomb, bomb. Trinidad and Tobago, carnival of death, give them the banging steel drums of war. Barbados, Sweden, Mexico, the Vatican, home of the Pope, recognized Palestine in 2013. Why have we been waiting this long? And then why limit Israel to 146 countries when you're so close to bombing the entire world? Some states might actually feel left out. Do not discriminate. Detonate. Any territory, any land is fair game, preferably empty land. If it's occupied or home to anything, not just people, just anything, bomb, flatten, move in, build, and repeat. But there's a special place for certain countries. Jordan need not exist, not only for the copyright infringement with Michael Jordan and the Nike brand, but because it's not even a real country. In fact, so-called Jordan is home to the largest number of exiled Palestinians. For all intents and purposes, it is just one massive, decades-long waiting room for the right of return. Jordanians are literally at Israel's doorstep. There should be no doors to Israel aslan. The only right of return they should be granted is to the Almighty. I know it feels absurd to bomb a country whose queen is Rania, but how do you feel when I tell you that she too is Palestinian?
Thank you very much, Adel. And now we will move to our cultural landscape expert, Sinan Antoon. Sinan, who, what, or whom should Israel bomb next?
Thank you, Bassam. I disagree with the entire premise. Radical and Stalinist outlets like the New York Times and CNN and the like keep spreading lies and want us to think that Israel is somehow guilty of excessive bombing. Nothing could be further from the truth. Let's look at the facts. There are 193 member states in the UN. Israel has only bombed 6 neighboring countries in the last year: Palestine, Lebanon, Yemen, Iran, Iraq, and Syria. That's 0.0031088 of the total number of bombable countries. That's peanuts. Israel could have bombed every single one of those countries in self-defense, but it exercised immense self-restraint and chose world peace over self-preservation. As for those countries in the neighborhood, in the so-called Middle East, MENA, Suad, Samar, whatever radical scholars call it, it's a violent and chaotic region. Israel is the only peaceful, eco-friendly, vegan, polyamorous, genocidal, and democratic state for some of its citizens in that region. You think this is satire? Well, think again. I said eco-friendly, and here is an irrefutable truth from my home country, Iraq. Israel was so concerned about the negative effects of nuclear radiation on Iraqi civilians that it took it upon itself to bomb the peaceful Iraqi nuclear reactor back in 1981. June 7th, 1981, Operation Opera bombed the Iraqi nuclear reactor. We should always stress Israel's altruism and the sacrifices it has been making since 1948 for the people of our region.
Thank you very much, Sinan. Now we will turn to myself, our political science and social science expert. For starters, there is no question that Israel should bomb the 120 countries who honored the ICC decision to issue a warrant for the arrest of Netanyahu and Gallant for committing war crimes. The United States will supply the funds, arms, munitions, moral support, emotional support, presidential ass-licking despite pretension of tension, and an a priori pat on the back to Israel for doing its best in bombing 120 countries indiscriminately without harming any civilians. Also, people who think hummus is an Arab or Palestinian dish are on the list of people Israel should bomb next. These people have been identified, and Israel has been planting mint and club soda in normal water bottles at supermarkets worldwide frequented by Palestinians so the water could explode out of the bottle upon twisting open the cap. One of our colleagues, Maureen Rabbani, was recently splashed in such accident during a recent lecture on Israel's genocide in Gaza. This was, fortunately or unfortunately actually, caught on tape.
Between quotes, unilaterally, exclusively on its own terms.
Brahim, Largely. Sorry about that. We will.
It's okay, I have it on camera.
Shame.
Adel, what else can you tell us about who Israel and what Israel and whom Israel should bomb next?
Thank you so much, Bassam. First of all, let's revisit the importance of addressing the most grave threat to Israel. Bomb the shit out of Amsterdam for the genocidal crimes committed by its monstrous residents against the sweet teddy bear fans of Israeli football club Maccabi Tel Aviv, who just stopped by to support their peace-loving club and spread goodwill among nations. Seriously, there should be zero tolerance for that abominable city where nothing is kosher. Seriously, even the city's flag has 3 X's on it. And for its home country, the Netherlands, declaring that they would arrest the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu in compliance with the ICC court's warrant, the whole country should be X'd off the map. One word alone should justify extermination: The Hague. A second thing, sorry, Bassam, this is very controversial. Very controversial. I'm going to go off on a limb here. Israel should bomb the United States. Yes, I said it. There are 3 cities named Palestine in the U.S. states of Texas, Arkansas, and Illinois. How did that fucking happen? Excuse me. It's too late to change the name now. Residents call themselves Palestinians in the United States. The damage has been done. They must be leveled. But that's not enough. No Palestine should be left behind, including the 10 other towns and villages in Alabama, Connecticut, Indiana, Michigan, Mississippi, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and West Virginia. How many Palestinians are in this country? And if some argue that it's unlawful for a foreign nation to bomb the United States, reassure them that Israel isn't a foreign nation and that they are here to clean up our mess.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Adel. Sinan, what else? Who else? Whom else? What other countries should Israel bomb next?
Look, Israel hatred is reaching unprecedented levels. And where? In the heart of Europe. We have reached a point where Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters, some of whom are just taking a break from the stressful, traumatizing work of killing innocent children and women, cannot feel safe or go around the city chanting gleefully about having killed innocent children and women in Gaza and destroyed all the schools. They are disparaged and maligned for going around the city attacking Arab cab drivers. Israel has every right to send a message and take a stand against the pogroms to ensure its ambassadors feel safe. It's too late to bomb Amsterdam now, but to clear the path for Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters in future matches so that they feel safe, I, for one, would completely understand it if Israel sends evacuation orders and bombs the areas surrounding the stadium in every European city where Maccabi Tel Aviv plays. It is only fair that Maccabis are rewarded for the injustice they had suffered. Alexander Shevrin, the head of UEFA, has actually instructed referees to give Israeli players some latitude on the pitch. Fouling and maiming opponents will not be punished with yellow or red cards. And any referee who does that is an anti-Semite Hamas sympathizer. Maiming and killing 3 players of any opposing team will be considered acceptable collateral damage. Maccabi players who have already participated in the genocide in Gaza can bring their expertise to the pitch, and they will be allowed to carry their weapons and use them to clear the way to the goal and finish the job. And opponents can no longer use themselves as human shields. It's unacceptable.
Thank you, Sinan. I will go now back to myself. It was also decided that Israel should bomb countries that are not as active as others in sending sex offenders to Israel, given Israel has been the global safe haven for sex offenders, emboldened recently even further by the Knesset debates on whether gang rape is okay or not okay. It was a raging debate, and of course, Israel won and came first. Also, what about the United States, as my colleague Adel asked? Why should Israel not bomb the United States? After much consideration, Israel is contemplating bombing the United States because Biden, one time in band camp, hesitated for 3 iotas of a second before eventually sending Israel more 2,000-ton bombs to kill Palestinian children, the humane way that only the United States can muster, via collateral damage. Yeah. The only obstacle is that Israel is waiting for the United States to send the fresh long-range missiles it needs to bomb the United States as an act of self-defense against momentary hesitation. Adel, any last thoughts on why and who and whom Israel should bomb next?
You know, Bassam, Israel is perfectly justified in its anger, and it won't be satiated until that anger has been released. Think of Israel's national project as an anger room. You know, all those rage rooms and smash rooms where customers can go in and throw axes at stuff and the shooting ranges. Smash therapy is a form of therapy advocated by so many psychologists who argue that it allows you to express your anger in a healthy, short-term, and controlled fashion. They argue that smash rooms are better at stress relief than dealing with the actual anger and rage itself. But what is it that they have to control? And why use a sledgehammer when you can use a 2,000-pound bomb? Not only to shatter some glass flasks and some old printers like that scene from Office Space, but rather to flatten entire city blocks. That will release your anger. What could be more soothing for the soul than a real-life game of Vice City, where you wander around shooting up random bystanders, running over children, and detonating schools? In fact, most of us hated school anyway. Israel has an opportunity to destroy all schools anywhere, anytime, without any respect for national borders. Why let borders get in your way?
Sinan, any last words on why, who, what, whom should Israel bomb next?
Look, let's be honest. Israel has shown immense self-restraint. It has not bombed Nicaragua, Bosnia, Namibia, Mauritania, or Bolivia, even though all of these countries support the Al-Qassam, the military wing of Hamas. What is the evidence? All these countries have the shape of a triangle, and that is the symbol fighters use when they show Israeli targets. Don't tell me it's just a coincidence. Now, bombing in general is not a cool thing, of course, but there are instances and contexts in which massive bombing is an investment in a better future for all. Bombing is about clearing the way for hiking trails and outdoor activities. We just need to listen to Israelis and understand where they're coming from. Listen to how lovingly this Israeli speaks of Lebanon in a tweet. Quote, "Lebanon is devastatingly beautiful. That's what all the Israeli soldiers coming home say. What we would give for a world where we could hike the forest of Lebanon, a world where we would be welcomed by our neighbors. It's a distant dream." End of quote. Now, have you ever seen Hezbollah fighters hiking? Huh? Why not? Not hiking when your homeland is blessed with natural beauty means Israel will bomb the shit out of your villages and cities and displace your extended families. So get moving and start hiking. Otherwise, the Israeli bombs will be falling.
Thank you very much, Sinan. I will now return to myself.
Israel's here.
So sad. I will go back to myself. Finally, thought leaders threw in a freebie. Israel should also bomb Israel for not killing enough Palestinians during the past 400 and some days. There are at least 2 million Palestinians alive today in Gaza, which for the Zionist state is quite shameful. The head of the IDF stated the following in an Aflakite oratory style, and I quote, "Self-defense should have no bounds and cannot impede defending the self precisely by bombing the self that did not defend the self properly." In other words, and I quote, "Are we defending the self or is the self defending us? This will be justified ex post facto because Israel, too, is hiding behind its own human shields." Gentlemen, very gentle men, any other notes on why, who, whom, and which countries should Israel bomb next? Any final comments before we break?
I want us to listen to Senator John McCain, God bless his soul, the maverick of the Republican Party. If we could play to the audiences the clip of him singing "Bomb, Bomb, 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 Bomb Iran."
When do we send them an airmail message to Tehran? That old Beach Boys song, "Bomb Iran." Bomb, 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 bomb. Anyway.
And before we break, I have one more thought, which I'd like to share with everyone. It was unanimously decided as well that Israel should bomb the families of the hostages because they keep asking Israel to make a deal to bring them home. What about the hostages? Because no one else has been hurt for the past 76 years except for the hostages. Thank you all for joining us in this second episode of season 48 of Emergency Teachings. We will be joining you next week with another session, an emergency session, because we can predict emergencies at least a week ahead of time. Assalamu alaikum wa bonsoir.
You wanna move?
Let's try.
Honestly, Israel should be allowed to have a temper tantrum. If your prestige was lost, your pride has been hurt, and you haven't been given a chance to vent, this is it. You're a nuclear superpower, a tech security hub, a financial capital, and an industrial leader, and you can't just let non-state minions get away with slapping you across the face. Bombing Gaza for Hamas, Lebanon for Hezbollah, Yemen for the Houthis, Syria and Iraq, that just simply isn't enough. You start off by bombing any paragliding school in the Eastern Hemisphere, or better yet, anything that flies. Anyone who shares the same air with the enemies of Israel should be taken out.
Thank you very much, Adel. And now we'll move to our cultural landscape. Landscape?